You're watching Voice of Legal Immigrants. And today, again, we have come back with a very important news and a breaking news that relates to the international students, the foreign students in the United States of America. Today, the news came where they said that the international students may have to leave USA if the university go for online only transition, the teaching basically. And that will have a major impact on thousands of international students here. The fate of these students and the future has many questions. To get those answers, we will have a discussion with our guest today. And in addition to this, we will also be discussing on another topic that relate to the presidential proclamation that has been revised now, and equally the presidential proclamation and the effect on GC processing, as well as we will be also talking to the alternatives to H-1B visa. With us today is our esteemed guest, Attorney Prashanti Reddy, ESQ. Prashanti, welcome to Voice of Legal Immigrants.
Thank you, Jyotsna. It's great to be here.
Absolutely great to see you again. And Prashanti, just before I talk to my audience again, I would like to introduce you a little bit more. Well, Prashanti is an attorney who's presently an immigration counsel advisor to Indian Consulate in New York and and is an immigration advisor for American Telugu Association. Ms. Reddy attended the University of Pennsylvania Law School and graduated in 1996. She did her LLM there. She is the member of American Immigration Lawyers Association and New York Bar Association. Ms. Reddy was voted as the top 100 lawyers by the National Advocates. She is amongst the top 100 immigration lawyers in the state of New York by American Society for Legal Advocates. She was also recognized by the American Institute of Legal Counsel as the 10 best immigration attorneys in New York. Ms. Prashanti, today again is a very important day. Again, it relates to the fate of students now. With COVID coming into picture, entire life of these immigrants has got distorted, whether it is the H-1Bs, the other non-immigrant visas. Now it's about F1s, the OPTs. Please show some light on first of all, the breaking news today. We'll take from there. And my callers, please, you may call us live to ask your questions as well.
Yes, Jyotsna. So yes, it's every day it's something or the other, right? It's never a dull day. So it's unfortunately it's not good news. It's just bad and badder. It gets worse and worse. But that's what we have to deal with now. But let's hope it is for a temporary period of time. That's our only hope. That the present government will not win the elections. So we'll have some good news on immigration. But
I have no comments to make there. Let's see what happens, which government comes or not comes or stays there. But then something.
So it's no longer about which party. It's only, since I'm an immigration attorney, I would, I just want, immigration to be fair and to be equitable, and it's not right now, and therefore I'm opposing it. That's it. It doesn't matter. Understood. It's often been Republicans who have introduced really good immigration reform. Sometimes it's been Democrats, sometimes been Republicans. So it's not about politics. It's about policy and who has better policy, pretty much.
True.
So with reference to this new bombshell that we have. It's now affecting students. It seems like almost like the administration is finding ways and means to curtail immigration, using COVID as an excuse, and any way that they can. It seems that they're just kind of tightening the noose more and more. So presently, with reference to the students. In the beginning, I was very happy to hear that they could take online courses, and they made that, USCIS did make that concession where they allowed foreign students to take online courses. Just to backtrack a little bit, as per the F1 regulations, you have to do in-person courses, which makes sense because your real classroom learning is in person even today. You can do one class which is online, even as per the present regulations, and that online course or 3 credits, so 3 credits worth of one online course out of the 12 courses that you're required to take in a year. to
All right.
maintain your, full F1 status.
Uh-huh.
So that's what the present law says. And because of COVID and because students couldn't attend classes and everything became online, USCIS did make that concession, and they said that online courses is fine, and foreign students would not lose their F1 status if they took courses online. But unfortunately, I was thinking that they would just continue it for the end of the year if they've had the concession. It's logical to think that they would have the concession as long as the situation remains the same. And the situation is pretty much the same. It's still, we're going through the first wave of COVID. As per their own, CDC, their own organization, it's part of the government organization, which is recommending what we should do and shouldn't do. And the government is recommending that we should social distance, and we should have not open schools and colleges as normal, but we should stagger attendance. That's what they're recommending. So I don't, it's kind of weird that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, or is not listening to what the right hand is doing, because one government entity is telling us to social distance, and that's common sense also. But in the meantime, and the other government entity is saying, if you don't open the universities, then we're going to shut you down. Pretty much, that's what they're saying.
True.
So right now, as per the present news brief that we've had from USCIS, it's not yet a regulation, but they're saying that they're going to publish a regulation, a temporary final regulation, which means a regulation which can be in effect immediately as soon as it's published, because there's no this
date
kind of a temporary regulation, there's no comment period, and there's no period where it has to be published and commented upon. Usually a regulation will take 12 to 18 months to come into effect, but this kind of a final regulation can be, will be effective immediately. So they're planning to do this as per the news brief in the fall, for the fall semester. So what they're saying basically is that we're no longer giving you that COVID concession. So you can no longer take all online courses like you've been doing in the summer and in the spring. In the fall, we expect universities to offer a combination of online courses and in-person courses. But unfortunately, the universities have already, I think, come up with plans to bring in not have all the students on university campus at the same time, but stagger it, and then they want only some students at one time, other students at other times, some classes online. And in fact, they're saying that because most of the classes are so big, so large, especially the core subjects, that they have hundreds of students at a time, right, in any university. They can't really do those in person. It's not safe, pretty much. The only courses that they can do in person is the smaller classes or the discussion classes. And those they might be able to do with some social distancing. So it seems that we're kind of doomed, the students, because I don't know how they're going to do a majority of the classes in person. So the law is the law is going to say, this is just the news brief, but the news brief is an indication of what the law might be. And basically the news brief is saying that you have to have a hybrid method of having some courses online and some courses you have to do in person. You cannot do all courses online. And the usual law is 3 credits, but you can do more than 3 credits online. But it doesn't say specifically how many. So that's the catch. That might come out more clearly when the regulation is actually published. But, so they're being vague about it. They're saying you can do more than 3 courses. Is it 4 courses? Is it 4 credits? Or is it 6 credits? What is it? So we have to just wait and see for now. Of course, students, a lot of foreign students have left already because it's a summer.
Absolutely.
So they can most probably do courses from their home country if the university is offering it, and they are. But if they try to come into the country, then they would need, what they would need is an updated CVIS, an updated I-20, which I'm presume they'll have to carry a physical original copy, which says that their university is offering a hybrid of courses, and the courses that they're offering online are the minimum required to have, a proper learning environment.
A minimum course.
Whatever that means. So it's vague, a little vague at this
point. It's
point.
very ambiguous there, right?
It's very ambiguous. So at this point, all we know is they want a hybrid of online and, in-person courses. And the other thing we know is the I-20 needs to be updated. And the university has to attest to the fact that they are doing some courses online and some courses, majority of the courses in person. And again, that for each student, that has to be updated into their CVS record as well. So that's what we know for now.
Pretty much a tight situation. Now the thing is, the situation is, well, these are the international students. They've put in a lot of money as fees for these universities.
Yeah.
How do they get the value for the money they've spent?
Right. And now they may not even get the online education because they're not being allowed to. So, so the one thing that the USCIS has suggested, which is not really a solution. One solution is if you really have to take more online courses than in person, or if you are first taking in person and then, because each semester their subjects change. So it could be that they're taking more online courses the next semester. The CVS has to be updated, and it might be possible, some remedies might be possible, and those remedies are pretty much declare yourself as sick. So if you're sick or something like that, then it's possible to drop the number of courses that you're taking. So maybe you'll just take the ones that are in person and then you will drop the online courses. And that's only if you're sick, and that's possible for a period of 12 months. There's a maximum period. And the other thing, there are about 5 criteria where you can drop your courses. It could be you're in the final semester and you have only 3 credits, or a few credits left, and therefore you don't need to take the full course.
So sorry to interrupt, Prashanti. I will come back to the entire this thing, inputs from you. I'm having a caller right now, so I'll take this call right now. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, can you please share your name and the question, please?
Okay, my name is Suraj. So my question is, so actually currently I'm on my B1 visa, and I thought of shifting my visa to F1 through the change of status by I-49 application. So can I start my school when my F1 is in processing?
So yeah, this is basically a change of status question. He's filing a change of status from B2 to F1, right? Jyotsna?
Yeah, B1 to F1.
Yeah, so he wants to know if he can start school as soon as he files for the change of status. So actually, it's interesting because your coursework should start before your B2 status expires. So the classes actually have to start before your B2 status expires. So you are required to actually start school before the expiry of your B2. Otherwise, your change of status application will be denied.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So
actually, I mean, due to this today's message, so I was a little concerned that this might affect. So one of my universities which I was approved, they have sent me the message that when your F1 is in processing, so you can't start your program. So that's the main question I was thinking about.
No, you can even start your program on a visitor's visa. You can go to school. It's just that you can't be a full-time student.
Okay.
Thank you, Prashanti. Thank you, Suraj. Yeah. You have any other corresponding question to it, so Suraj?
No, that's all.
Okay. Thank you. So appreciate it. Bye. All right. I mean, okay, B1 to F1, they can transition that easily. I mean,
so
this current situation, they are planning to send back people if the university goes online only.
Yeah. So he have an issue, and I was wondering if he's going to ask me that question.
Yeah,
because there might be an issue. There might be an issue with him taking all online courses, right? Because his universities are really not open. So that might be something that will affect his change of status application. They might send an RFE asking if your courses are on. What is the
classroom or online
division? What is the division between the online and the in-person? So yeah, that might be an issue. The other issue that you are pointing out is also that as soon as you come on a B2, you obviously cannot change to an F1 because there's an intent problem. So as soon as you come in, they'll say that if you change immediately, they'll say, oh, you intended to be a student, but you came on the wrong visa. You gave a wrong intent. So your arrival, it's a wrong arrival into the country. So usually people wait. It's suggested to wait for 90 days on a B2 before you actually file the change of status, so that intent issue can at least be resolved.
Okay. So thank you, Prashanti, for that answer. And of course, I obstructed you while you were giving the final touch to the documentation and other things.
So I was just talking about the remedies in this situation. If you cannot take as many in-person courses because of a situation beyond your control, what you need to do is request your university to decrease your credit load, decrease the courses that you're taking, and you need a special request, and it has to be approved by the university, and they have to enter it into your CVIS record, and then you'll be allowed to drop courses and take a lower course load. So that might keep you in status. Otherwise, you will have to leave the country, and you're better off than just doing courses remotely. But as you were saying, Jyotsna, it's not, they don't get their money's worth, especially these Ivy League universities. And
absolutely not.
There's a lot of money,
thousands of dollars, right?
Thousands of dollars, even in a regular university, especially for a foreign student.
Sure.
So yeah, they definitely will not get their money's worth. So
is there any scope that they can ask for the money back, saying, okay, we were planning to go for in-class studies basically, and now it is transitioning to online. We don't want to online is online, of course. When you are in the classroom and you have group discussions or other activities, or say other extracurricular activities, that enhance the personality of a person in the classroom settings, that definitely would miss here. Of course, it is COVID, it's just transitioning, we're trying to manage.
So I think the universities, Jyotsna, that's a good point. The universities should come up with something, and have like a fee reduction or something like that, because they no longer are maintaining their campuses, right? So they no longer they don't have that cleaning staff. They don't have all that maintenance of those facilities. They're all closed.
Even the hostels are closed. So
the hostels are closed. So they should be able to give these students some concession if they're doing it remotely, from out of the country.
And when you speak about out of the country, and there are universities that ask for specific visa status, it's F1, these set up this education system, the degrees and all were set up in a situation where they were to be in the classroom. Now they're transitioning, okay, but still they are those classroom students. When they internationally move out from the country, and for the next semesters, God forbid, this COVID situation goes on. How does it impact their eligibility to be eligible for those courses then?
Right. So we have to presume that the online courses are counted as if they were in person, and they'll give them the credits. And I don't know what learning takes place, but something will take place, but I don't know to what extent, right? So they will just presume as if they're in person, even though they're not, and they'll give them the credits. Because the whole world is going through it, they're not going to say it's distance education, so that, because that's a different, it doesn't have as much credibility when you have a distance education degree versus, an in-person, in-classroom degree. So I think it might be for a semester or so. So I don't think it'll make any difference for the actual transcript when they get it. So for their jobs or whatever it is, I think, it's happening everywhere. So it shouldn't affect them or their, job situation in that way, as if you were doing a distance education. That's different completely.
Okay, to add to this misery, I have another question. In fact, there are students who are on H4 visa, who are dependents here, okay?
Right.
And of course, they had applied for their F1s, transitioning,
Yeah.
There is a new breed of students also who are aging out, who would be transitioning to F1 visa and all, right? Now, situation is they say you have to go back to your country. Now, these are the students whose parents have been waiting in the green card backlog for decades. They only know this country as their home. Their parents have just transitioned their visas, shifted their visas from H4 to F1. What happens to them? Because they're saying, the university says, okay, you will have to leave the country. Of course, they change their status from H4 to F1. They were the dependents here for their green card, the waiting parents, basically.
Right. Yeah. That is.
What happens to them? They'll have to go back to some unknown land right now. Exactly. They've been brought up here for last 12, 13, 14 years, I mean, just I'm speculating.
Right. You're right. You're right.
Is there any humanitarian ground there to speak about them?
Right. So obviously this new proclamation has a lot of either unforeseen or foreseen consequences, but it makes no sense with reference to the economy. That's what they are trying to make a difference. It has nothing. These people who are being affected are not in any way doing anything to the economy.
True.
So they just use this as an excuse to target this audience as well. And I was reading an article, and it's so true that, for example, the people who are most innocent and victims of this whole proclamation are the women and the children, the spouses and the children, basically.
I mean, the proclamation, of course, has affected people who got stuck, when
yeah,
the proclamation came for
because why is it targeting H4 children and spouses? It makes no sense.
So my question, Prashanti, to you is, I understand, the thing and the misery is here. Again, as I quoted about these transitioning students from H4 to F1, and then they have to leave the country, although they were brought up here. Is there any ground of litigation as well? On those grounds,
there is litigation on the whole proclamation. There is litigation because, and someone is already filing it, by the way. And they're looking for plaintiffs. They're looking for people to join in. So if there's anyone affected, spread the word. So basically, there is this proclamation is good for litigation, and for many different reasons. One is because it's affecting people who should not be affected and who have not in any way have anything to do with the economy or the recession, and also because it's based. The base of it itself is a false base, right? Because they're saying, in order to protect the economy and to protect American jobs, they filed this proclamation. But we know that the industries that it's affecting, which is IT, healthcare, there is no recession in those industries.
Absolutely.
So there is no justification for having such a proclamation, and that's why cases are being filed. And there are innocent victims, H4's children. Why shouldn't children be allowed? How can you say I'm not allowing a 7-year-old child because I think he will adversely affect the economy of the United States? Does that make any sense? And what about children who are born, were not born at that time and are born now, and they don't have a visa because they were not born, and the mother has just given birth. So a newborn baby makes a difference to the economy of the United States, and because they're going to take away someone's job. It's just ridiculous.
So basically, there's a litigation in place, and people, they're looking for plaintiffs.
Correct. Yes.
Well, I have another show lined up for that specific litigation. Of course, I will come back with another attorney on that. I know it'll soon come, But yes, having said that, Prashanti, now the situation is with these students is, I mean, they're speaking about fall right now, right? So during the fall, they'll have to leave. I mean, they'll have to leave this country for only 3-4 months and then come back. Now, coming back, it's a big problem, having the visa stamped. Now, entire things are under a situation where I don't know how long the embassies will take time to get the normal schedule of, stamping the visas in the consulates outside. Now, when these students go out, I mean, there is a bleak future for them to come back in. What is your take on that?
Yeah. How do you know they can come back in 3 months? Because we're just presuming that. How do you know that the proclamation will be only until December 30th? It could last for another 4 years because there is no time limit specified in the proclamation. So unless, of course, if the government gets its way, it'll last for another 4 years. Unless someone, multiple people, unless multiple people, file complaints and, file a lawsuit. Otherwise, there's no saying for how long it will continue. There's a possibility that it will continue the way things are going now. Definitely beyond the December 30th. That much I can say.
This is till December 30th. Agreed.
Right.
This is the situation right now, but we don't know the future. With these students getting into, somebody might be in the 3rd semester. Somebody might be going to the 1st semester itself, I mean, where do they land? Where do they find their future now? Is it better to go out of this country and go study somewhere else then? To take their refunds back?
No, I think it's still, America still has a bright future. Passing out from an American university still means something. I think that they shouldn't be disheartened by these temporary setbacks. And I think that, they should persevere, and it's only a temporary setback. They can do online. If they can't come in for some reason, they should just do that semester online and then come back, as soon as they come for the rest of their semesters, and get a US degree, and then, get experience in this country. So I think it still makes sense to be a student in this country.
Thank you for those inputs, Prashanti. And to my viewers, if you're watching us live and you have any questions from Prashanti, you can call us at 631-867-1289. I repeat, the number is 631-867-1289. You can call us live while we are talking to Prashanti and getting more insights. And Prashanti, now about this presidential proclamation that happened, we spoke about it in our last episode. Now there is a revision to it. Would you like to please update us on the revised proclamation by the president?
Yes. So previously, the language was ambiguous, and they realized that people can take advantage of that. So they've made it more clear. What they've said is, previously they said that if you have previously had a visa, a valid visa, then the proclamation and your, then the proclamation will not apply to you if you've had a valid visa. So that which meant that any valid visa, meaning even if you had a B2, the proclamation would not apply to you if you were going for a H1 now. So then they immediately corrected that, and they said a valid visa in the same status that you're seeking, an additional visa, or
they cannot come in.
So if you had to have a H1 visa in order for it to not apply to you if you're presently on a H1 and you're going for an extension of your visa. So they made that very clear, because they didn't want it to be a visa. They're trying to make it as restrictive as possible. And the other things that have come to light is pretty much, so it will not apply to this cap season. I wanted to clarify that, because people who are filing for change of status, F to H, they can go for a visa, because the F1 to H1, they are not outside the country at the time of the
people who are inside the country, right?
Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're from H4 to H1 or L1 to H1, they're transitioning, or F1 to H1 inside change of status, it doesn't affect them, right?
Correct. Yes, it doesn't affect them.
But if they come from outside, for sure, then they cannot come.
Correct.
With the new lottery, new people cannot come inside, right?
Correct. Yeah. So anyone who is in the country at that time, they can go for a visa subsequently. But if they're outside the country, they're out of luck. So anyone is filing for change of status from H4 to H1 or F1 to H1, and October 1st, their H1 gets approved, they can go get a visa, they can go get the H1 visa as soon as their H1 gets approved, or after October 1st, whichever comes later.
Okay.
So that's another thing that I wanted to, make clear for everyone.
Okay. Now about the GC processing, this presidential proclamation, how has it affected the green card processing? One. Second, we'll come to the other part of, GC numbers being available and talk about that. Anyways.
So in the proclamation, the president has directed the Department of Labor, Department of State to look into the green card processing, and to see if this green card processing, the PERM processing, labor certification, how it's affecting the job market and how it's affecting jobs, if it's taking away jobs from US citizens. Right. So what that means is pretty much is that they want the labor certification process to be restarted for everyone who is not yet a permanent resident.
Oh,
so
my
they
God.
want them to go through the labor certification process again. So for example, if you file your labor, you've applied for your I-140, you've even maybe applied for the 485, and the labor was filed 6 years ago, or 10 years, whatever, there've been people waiting for 10 years and longer as well. Then they're asking you to go through the labor cert process again, because they want to test the market as of today, and make sure
But is it
that
not
they're not
irrelevant to the?
affecting the wages
Oh
of.
my God.
It's just ridiculous. So
See, the
pretty
point
much
is
what.
when person applied for the green card 10 years back down the line, the person's designation, experience, and position was way lower than what it could have been today, as far as the salary being drawn or the position or the technical skills
Right.
being there.
So it's more obviously it's more difficult, and not just that. They'll obviously make the process more difficult. So it's not just if you file a labor, it'll get approved. It might not. So then what happens? They have to leave, right? So
This is not done.
they're forcing people on a H1 to leave the country and leave on their own, forcing them to leave because they can't really ask them to leave other than doing this, keep closing all the doors. So this is what pretty much is what everyone is saying, that they want to restart the labor cert process for this group of people, huge group of people. So that's the scary part.
Is there
And
any
then
legal
they'll have.
route to it?
Sorry?
Is there any legal route to it? So that people protest and say there are humanitarian grounds as well. People have invested.
There's so many reasons why this would be unfair and unnecessary and capricious and arbitrary. Obviously some people are going to file lawsuits.
I mean, people are expected to file lawsuits, and
they are expected. Once even with every single proclamation that comes out, there will be 10 lawsuits filed. So you can be assured of that.
So there are lawsuits coming. I mean, the lawsuit season is on now, right?
It is, yes. Yes, it has to be, because if people don't protect their rights, who else will, right? If businesses and people, they don't protect their employees, if people don't protect their rights. So the present lawsuit that I've heard of is it's actually constrained to or limited to Indian nationals. So they're taking up. I forgot to mention that they're taking up cases of Indian nationals who are stuck outside the country, and the reason they're doing this is because they're adding another facet to the lawsuit, and they're saying that it's discrimination, because the people that they're discriminating against Indian nationals, because the people that are affected, a majority of them are Indian nationals. So the lawsuit, the proclamation is discriminatory because it's affecting a certain population more than other populations. So in addition to to there being no economic reasons, to the H4s being affected, to children being affected, to families being separated, they have this additional reason as well. So that's what they're planning to to say in the lawsuit.
Wow, amazing. I mean, there is a route to lawsuits, but how much is the duration for the lawsuits to become successful or not? I mean, how do we rely on lawsuits alone as well? I mean, my question is, when we file a lawsuit, it itself takes its due course of time, How much do we have to wait?
Luckily, it's not, the judge can decide without it going into trial. There can be a summary motion, a summary judgment, and they just prima facie, they can decide that it's unconstitutional. So it may not take that long. It may be a few months. It's not that it'll take years together. So it will be timely. And this is the only option we have now to, to protect, the immigration system, is the courts. That's the only option we have.
And there is okay, I have a caller right now. I'll take this caller first. Hello. Please share your name and ask the question.
I'm the same caller who called before.
Suraj,
my name is Suraj. Yeah. So yeah, actually, thank you so much for the information from Ms. Prashanti Reddy. So that was very helpful. My B1 visa is like, I kept extending it for every 6 months for my clinical rotation. So that's the only way we can do our clinical rotations in the hospital. So I was planning to do a health informatics course, which is a Masters of Science STEM course. So yeah, so that's what I mean. I just want to make sure I was not on B1, so I was just extending the same B1 visa every 6 months through I-539. So I just want to know if I can change it to F1 by this B1 visa.
Yes, so I think we answered the question. We said, so basically you can file a change of status, but you have to wait. I think after you hung up, we were discussing it, but that you have to wait for 90 days before you can file the change of status. So that there is no intent problem. And of course, you have to show that there's a correlation between, what you're doing and the degree that you're taking, which it seems that there is. So yeah, you can file for the change of status application as long as you do it, after the required time.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Suraj, and wish you all the best. I know.
Yeah, thank you so much.
A lot of worry there.
Thank you so much. It was very helpful. You guys are sharing the information, so that's a very good thing.
Thank you so much.
Everyone is in confusion right now. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, that is a tough situation. I mean, every student has a different story there. Now, different people, different students, and different situations altogether.
Yeah, there are some students who have decided to remain in the country even through the summer because they were worried about leaving.
Yeah.
And they might be forced to leave now, so there's no purpose in them staying, because if their university is not offering in-person classes, then they have no nothing that they can do. Yeah.
I have another caller right now. Sorry, I'm interrupting. Hello, please share your name and ask the question as well.
Hey guys, this is Kanchana. I have a question regarding the I-20 that you guys were talking regarding the F1 visa. So I have a niece who goes to university.
Have you lost your voice, Kanchana?
Hello?
Yeah, can you repeat? You have a niece who goes to?
Yeah, she goes to Rutgers University and she is in New Jersey. So I just wanted to understand how difficult it is going to be, or what should be the actual formality, even if the college has decided it to be like a hybrid type of course. The course is going to be hybrid for the fall.
So what was her question?
So she has a niece who is going to Rutgers University. What is her future now? Actually, how the course goes here? I mean, it's a hybrid level of teaching. Online and in person.
Right,
but
right.
I read somewhere that Rutgers University is going completely online. Most of it. Only
even
very
Harvard, even there are a lot of big universities, right? Even a lot of big universities. So, I mean, so the news brief today did say that the universities have to be hybrid, meaning part online and part in person, but we don't know. Maybe when the regulation actually comes out, we will know what the division should be, or if they're just going to leave it vague. If they're going to leave it vague, then it should be okay as long as they have both. And I'm presuming the majority of them should not be online. As long as the majority courses are not online, and maybe they have a 60-40 division or something like that, it should be fine. So it's difficult to say now exactly what extent should be online and what the hybrid model should be. But at least if they have a hybrid model, there's a chance that their university will be accepted for foreign students. So that's a start. And now that this news has come out, I'm sure universities don't want to lose their foreign students. So they will make every effort to make sure that they follow the regulation, because no university can function without foreign students, to be honest. So they will just have to shut down, and some departments especially. So the thing that concerns me though is the health risk, the health concern. You're forcing universities, even though they thought it was not safe, you're forcing them to remain open and have in-person classes. So I don't know what that will do to the health risk, and how that's not even humanitarian, if you ask me. It's just precious. So we have to wait and see.
Prashanti, she's asking something else. Yes, Kanchana, please repeat what you said.
So one is, it's not only the health concerns of students going to the college, because if they open like a hybrid, they have to go on some in-person classes, but it's also, how could these kids even go back to India? Like, there are not flights, and that's going to be a health risk for them as well, right? So now I think most of the countries are in their peak, and it's going to be, it's not okay for us to send our kids either even back to India. So that's one thing. And the second one is, would there be something like an amendment that we will have to do for I-120 for the kids to stay back in this country if they are in US itself?
Okay, what are the ways to keep them here while, I mean, any amendment or any change of status you suggest? What do you suggest, Prashanti? I mean, this is a very serious situation, you know. Can they go on some B1 visa or something else? I mean, B2 whatever.
I mean,
visa.
they can, but what is the purpose of doing that then if they can't go to school?
No, the point is to keep them here so they don't go back to the country. In India, itself, you see the cases, number of cases rising right now. It's like sending them into a misery again, from one misery to another misery.
But the problem is that they will lose their, they'll lose their semester. They'll, you know, that's the downside of it. You know, so they'll lose their the credit. So they'll have to take a break from their school, change their status from F to B, take a break, and then go back once things are normal. So it's just an impossible situation to put them in. I'm just hoping that they will be more when the regulation actually comes out. So they basically, as I said earlier, that you can take one course online. So now they have said you can take more than one course online, but they haven't said how many. So if you're allowed to take 2 or 3 courses online and you have 2 courses maybe that are in person, maybe a small classroom setting, and that's what universities are doing. They're having some classes which require discussion or discussion groups, small classroom. They're doing those in person. They're planning to do that already. So that might be safe, even health-wise. And maybe I'm hoping they can come up with some kind of an arrangement that will help both them keep the law as well as, you know, the health concerns. I'm hoping that they can juggle things around so that they're able to do both. Otherwise, it makes more sense to just send the kids back to India and get them to do at least their online courses and take up, you know, finish all the credits for this semester. So instead of putting a pause and changing status, I don't know, that's a good idea.
Kanchana, I think, has another question. Yes, Kanchana, please continue.
Yeah, so one last question I had is, like regarding the credits, right? That is not even that we can do. They haven't like you said, there is no restriction on the number of courses that they have to do online. But have you, I think it's very short span of time. Have you heard from any universities or any public relations people who coordinate with the international students? Have you heard from any of them on what is going to be their approach on this? Because definitely there's going to be a loss of revenue for them if they say no to the international students, right? So is there something that you have heard from any of your sources or contacts?
Thank you,
So
Kanchana, for the questions.
What I heard part of what I heard was that she was asking if we have any additional information on what the universities are going to do after this news has been published, right?
Right, sure.
Yeah. So it's too soon, right? Because it just came out today. The news just came out today. So it's way too soon. But the only thing I can say to you is that the universities will not allow their F1 students to fall out of status, because, you know, then they'll just go to another university. They'll transfer schools. So no university wants to lose their foreign students. So they will do whatever is needed to ensure that the foreign students meet the requirements. I'm just worried that because of that, there will be a COVID situation created. I'm just worried about that. But, you know, with reference to following the regulation, I think they will do what is needed. They will juggle things around. And I hope the regulation, when it comes out, also will be a little bit more reasonable and more defined as to how many courses can be online and how many courses offline, in person. Otherwise, I think, again, I'm saying it's better that they leave and do their full coursework online for this semester and then come back fresh, you know, when things are better, and join university as usual, rather than changing to a B2. I mean, everybody's situation is different, I know that. But you change to a B2 here, then again you'll have to change to an F1. You'll have to readmit yourself in the university, get a fresh I-20. You know, so it's not a simple process. You might not get admission when you readmit. How do you know there'll be seats available? You know, some of these universities are sought after universities. It's not easy to get admission, you know, so these are things to think about anyway. But, you know, it's still too soon to tell. I think there'll be more clarification as the months go by.
So they have not launched any effective date, right, Prashanti? There's no effective date as of now?
No effective date. They said that the regulation will be published soon. or maybe it'll be published somewhere near the fall, around the fall period. And it'll be effective immediately.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kanchana. I hope your queries were answered.
Thanks, Prashant.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Well, concerned people, parents, guardians, that's how they come with dreams here. They have relatives or they just are alone here. I mean, these kids are, it's just too young to understand the whole situation.
No, and a lot of them are undergrads.
Absolutely.
You forget, it's not just master's degrees, it's undergrads a lot. There's a trend for the undergrad population to come now, and there's a lot of undergrads. So they're all 18, 19, not adults even, and they've been put in this situation in this foreign country where, they're, obviously their parents are not with them, so they have to fend for themselves, or with the help of family and friends, but it's still, there's a lot going on for them at this point of time.
Extremely sorry, state, basically. I don't know. I mean, what kind of rhetoric? It's just university students bring in money here. Even what was the fault, even if they get to stay here in the country? I mean, what would they do? They will spend money here still. They will still get funded by their parents, rather, of back home. They will send money for them. If the OPTs and CPTs are anyways not working, in the sense the market is closed, people are not able to go to jobs as such. I mean, this segment of students doesn't get much jobs, exactly, because they used to work in restaurants, in some retail stores, some other places. Everything is closed. So even if they get to stay here, it's not that they're trying to bring any economic losses anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, most of these students are just going to school, right? So they're, and they're paying a hefty amount of money. So they're actually bringing money into the country, right? And then they're spending money as well, because they need a place to stay, obviously, their entertainment, their food. So it's a huge population. I forget what the number was. I think some 1 million something. It's a huge population of people, of students, foreign students that are there. And they're whole university towns, right? That thrive on students, and majority of them being foreign students. So everyone, their pizza shops are going to close, their restaurants are going to close. It affects everybody and everything, So you just have to, if you don't know that immigrants bring wealth into the country, then you are losing out on progress and that wealth that can that has helped America for so many generations now.
Thank you, Prashanti, for those inputs. Now, I was also, wanting to talk about these people, who are waiting for the green cards, of course. Now, with this proclamation coming into picture, the green card processing not taking place for certain family-based visas and all, right, green cards. Now, there are certain visa numbers available. Any prospect that these family-based numbers or other numbers they will be going to employment-based category?
Well, it's possible if they want it. I don't think it even needs to pass in Congress. I think they can use in the past, many years ago, they've used unused visa numbers from previous years, and then they stopped doing it. So I think they can do it just via regulation, and they don't really need the Congress to approve it. So it's possible, but there has to be a will, right, Jyotsna? They're talking about kicking out people who are already here from so many years on non-immigrant visas. There doesn't seem to be any hope really for permanent residents, becoming, whatever, for people becoming permanent
people who applied for green card becoming permanent residents.
Becoming permanent residents, because, the first is the students and then the H1s. They're the who are looked into first, and then it comes to green card. When the people who are here are not being allowed to stay here, so where's the question of thinking about long term?
I have a question. Yeah, because
long term. That's long term. So nobody's thinking long term.
No. The point is, the question lies with you people, the attorneys there, the legal class. Why I'm raising this question is, people have stayed here for years, 10 years, 15 years, 16 years, 17 years, right? More than decades. Now, the things are being made tough by saying, okay, recertification of labor. I mean, perm process has to be recertified again. Okay, and everything going in picture. But when they have invested their prime of their youth here in this country, hard work, and have paid taxes, contributed towards Medicare and Social Security, which they never availed, these people who are in the green card backlog.
Right, right.
Is there any legal route to fight on the humanitarian grounds that what are you doing at this point of time? We are in 100,000, like we are almost 600,000 people.
Absolutely,
waiting
absolutely.
for it.
There is ground for filing lawsuits, but no one is coming forward. It has to be people like you and me, people who,
There are people who will be coming out soon.
Regular people who should come out. People are too scared.
Not
Companies
scared,
only
they
are
will come
scared.
out.
Forget about
For how long will
individuals.
they be?
You know, there's no need to be. You have a legal right to raise your voice in court, and there's not going to be any repercussions against you. So there is I don't see any harm in filing a lawsuit, other than the fact that, you know, you lose some money, you know, and some time.
Money and
really,
time
I
is
am really surprised that people have not filed. It's because it's simply discrimination.
Absolutely.
Again, the law is affecting on the basis of discrimination, on the grounds of discrimination. You can say that this law is affecting disproportionately a certain segment of people.
Because they come from a particular country.
Right, from a particular country. So it is discrimination based on nationality. And therefore the law is unconstitutional. Right? So of course it can be done, and it should be done. There is no reason not to have filed a lawsuit.
That's why I'm asking all this is because you are attorneys there. You are the people.
Yes, we're ready to, but people have to come forward.
It's more about mass awareness. No, the mass awareness hasn't happened till date. The fear has been there.
I think it's mainly fear, and they think that once you go to court, you know, it never gets resolved. They don't have much. They don't have much faith in the judicial system.
Timeline also matters.
Yeah, and but actually the timeline is not. It's not. We're not talking about 10 years or, you know, even a few years. We're talking about months, to maximum a year, to hear, you know, to find out what is the result of the lawsuit. And we have that much time, I think. I really don't. I am perplexed as to why there's such a huge population of people that are affected to such a great extent. And unless I'm not aware of it, and lawsuits have been filed, but I'm really not aware of.
No, we understand. I mean, your insight coming from a legal person is good. You know, the masses get educated through that model. Of course, there are certain non-profits who are planning to, go through that route as well. Very soon, the news would be out. I mean, I, of course, am associated with various organizations and this kind of advocacy efforts. We, touch base with people we know. We will keep our audience informed about that. But because now is the time when all this is happening, when people as immigrants, the high-skilled workers, or this kind of category of students, they all are bringing money, technology, skill, experience, and expertise to this country. Why so much of hate when this is not the segment which is stealing away the jobs? When this is the segment which is not doing any damage to the country.
They're creating jobs, but facts are never seen as facts. They're just seen as propaganda, unfortunately. I don't know why facts can't be documented, and I don't know how facts cannot be facts. So, and why there's a dispute about what the facts are. So that's the whole problem here. People don't believe that they're facts, that immigrants bring wealth, even though they've seen a whole history of it happening. They've seen it happening for generations, but they still don't believe that immigrants bring wealth. They think that immigrants take away jobs. But the immigrants that come here are all highly skilled immigrants that come. Those are the immigrants that come because they have no other visas, right? The only visas that you can come by is the H1, the TN. These are all highly skilled. L1s, these all, not everyone can get them. So, and there's rules in place to ensure that an American citizen does not lose his job. There are rules in place with the H1 to make sure that they are not displacing US citizens. So, I mean, I don't know what else can be done. The rhetoric has to change, and people's thinking has to change pretty much,
Yes, I hope the Senate also listens, the congressmen also listen to us.
That's all politics. They will listen to what the people want them to listen to. So
see, the problem is, I will throw some light on it, Prashanti. I'm sorry. So the thing is, the situation right now is when we speak about, I mean, of course it comes from you also, there's this Republican government, right? President Trump, what is he doing right now? Fine, one situation. But for people, there are other segment of people, these people who are waiting for the green card. There is one senator who's holding back the entire bill. Senator Dick Durbin, he's a Democrat from Illinois, state of Illinois, is keeping a hold on Bill S386, which would have eased all their lives, and would have given a stability to these people to pursue their profession, change their employers, do businesses, invest in this country more, and make this country more prosperous. Just now, we really don't know whether it is Republicans or Democrats who are going to support us. Now, in this situation, people are inching towards attorneys, the legal organizations, to understand what is the way out.
So you shouldn't depend on lawmakers to do this. What you need to do is go to courts. There's already laws in place, and the laws don't allow for discrimination, and there's certain do's and don'ts. So I think the rather than depending on fleeting politics and how it is with the politicians, they will change their tune based on whatever is advantageous to them. So not to say that everyone is like that, but unfortunately that's what politics is. So I think the legal system is what we can hope for. I am hoping for comprehensive immigration reform for a while now, but let's see what happens if a new government comes in, whether that'll happen, won't happen. But at least all I can say is it's never been so restrictive, ever, within any party, at any time. Immigration has not been so restrictive. This is a fact. So we have to acknowledge that fact, and the inhuman ways that families have been separated with asylum, right? And people at the borders, children being separated from their parents. There is no doubt about it that any government, Republican or Democrat, has ever followed such restrictive immigration policies. That's a fact.
So Prashanti, it's been a very big insight that you gave, about, of course, today's breaking news about these international students. They might have to leave and all. To sum it up, of course, what is the ray of hope, one, and what is the situation now? I would want you to sum it up once again. What can be done? What cannot be done equally at the same time? If you would like to throw some light.
Right. So basically, with reference to the students, it's still wait and see, in the sense that we don't have the nitty-gritty of it. We don't know whether they're going to be more clear as to how many online courses have to be taken and how many courses have to be done in the classroom. If they don't define it even in the regulation, then that might be good for us, because we can interpret it in a way that is favorable to us, because it's not defined. So that's one thing. Second thing is, the good news in a way is that foreign students make up a huge population of the student body, and no university can function without foreign students. So they will do something about it. Either in the form of a lawsuit, you can expect that. The universities have, as you know, they have a lot of bargaining power, and they have a lot of money. So you can expect universities will jump and file lawsuits immediately. And third is, you can expect that also they will try to adhere to the policy by changing their juggling around their classes so that foreign students are not affected. You can, of course, then we have to worry about the infection spreading, and that's not an immigration issue, but it's a health concern, but it's just as important or even more important than immigration is. So I think as of now, let's just wait and see until further, we get further insights. There's still no need to panic, I think, because there is many ways around this and solutions to this issue.
Thank you so much, Prashanti. It was a day where, of course, again, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of tension that comes in the mind of people, and we have to, again, educate our masses, our people, give them the right, knowledge. And knowledge is power, so that they are not in panic mode. Already there is a stress, there is so much of health-related tension already going on. Finances are broken. And when this kind of news comes, this is shattering of dreams, kids. There are kids who just barely came, and they'll have to go back. Pack their bags, and going back is a real tough thing. So we wish them all the very best, and thank you for the inputs. And of course, what is interesting for us is, of course, these litigation routes which are being discussed nowadays, they're coming more in picture now. I think somebody is calling before I call it a day. I'll take this call though. Hello.
Hi, my name is Ram.
Ram, please ask your question.
What about students who are in the final semester of their course? Like fall 2020 is the final semester.
So Prashanti, question is, what about the people who are in their final semester, fall 2020? What happens to them?
Yeah, so there you can reduce, as you said, in the final semester, you can actually take a lower workload. So that's perfect for them because they can just take one course. And if that one course is allowed to be online, right, you can do one course that's online. So they might be in a better situation than most other people. Don't presume that even that one course has to be completed, but you're allowed to reduce your credit load, right, in the final semester, but you have to take permission from the university and do it in the right way, submit the proper forms and paperwork to do it. So you're actually in a better position if you're in the final semester.
Thank you. One more final follow-up question is, I've completed 6 years of H1, on probably have 4 months left, but then I changed to H1. I went back to India in for fall 2019, got my F1 stamp and came back. Is it possible that if I have to go back to India, I'll for fall I'll have 3 credit hours. For spring I'll have 3 credit hours. Summer I won't have any credit hours. And then I come back for fall 2021 to complete the final 3 credit hours and have my H1B reset because I stayed out of the country for 1 year.
Difficult question, tricky question.
I couldn't hear it clear. I heard parts of it, but.
Okay, so the situation is he was on H1. He finished his 6 years on H1, came on F1. So now he's speaking about spending his credit hours in semester 3, 4 and all like this. And in 2020, when he comes back and tries to, I think you said, get back to H1B? No, come back on F1, we understand. Come back on F1 and then you want to go back to H1B again through a new lottery or through the old system?
No, new lottery because I don't have much.
Yeah, that's what. So new lottery. Okay, you want to come back to new lottery. I really don't know the fate of anything right now with the situation going on. My goodness. Prashanti.
What is the question? No, I've not understood the questions yet. Because
First
I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Delay his credit. He has his validity for F1 till 2023. So he's into the new semester. Of course, he wants to delay the credits, as you said, like, okay, take it and third semester, fourth semester. Then he wants to apply his fresh H1. So altogether a different situation.
I'm not sure why he wants to delay his credit load or defer the credit load. First of all, you can't just do that for no reason. You have to there are 5 different reasons why you can do it, and you have to find one of them and be eligible to do that, and your university has to accept it. But what is the purpose of delaying and continuing to stay on F1? How does that help you in getting a H1 finally? Because in order to be on a H1, if you're already, especially if you've completed your 6 years, you have to again go out of the country, be out of the country for 1 year, not be on F1 for 1 year to get an additional 6 years, right, on your H1. Or you have to file an I-140 and get an I-140 approved.
Well,
so what is the purpose of delaying your credits, taking your credits and staggering them out and then hoping to get a H1? So I don't understand the purpose of it.
All right.
So that I'll be out of the country for 12 months and then I'm hoping that the job will reach out. But I need some credits left so that I can come back in as full-time student for after 12 months, right? So that I'm trying to stagger it across 3 different semesters.
He's trying to stagger it to come back, to be eligible to come back to this country on F1 again. So
why can't he come back on F1 right now?
Because he thinks it might go on for 1 year, the lockdown. I mean, the situation. See, the point is uncertainty.
Yeah, so the proclamation does not, if you're talking about the presidential proclamation, it doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect students. It only affects people who are on HL, right, and etc. J's. So it doesn't affect you at all. So you can leave and come back on an F1. So I don't really still understand the purpose of staggering your courses.
He's under the dilemma, thinking that things will not go right until next year as well.
I mean, if he's trying to get a visa or something like that, as long as the consulates are open, he can do that,
Okay.
And remember, you only need a visa in order to travel out of the country. If you're here in the US, you can continue to be in the US and you don't need a new visa.
But then they
So-
have to leave, isn't it, Prashanti? If it is all online, they'll have to leave the country.
If it is online, they will have to leave the country, correct.
And then they
And
have to
they
get
can
there.
do
So
it,
if one
and they
spends
can do it remotely, but staggering the courses is not going to help. Yeah, that is one remedy which even USCIS has suggested, that if you're not able to take on a full load of courses in person because your university is not doing it, then I said this in the beginning, then you can reduce your course load and still remain in status. So that is one remedy. Maybe that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, that is what he wants, to be in status to come back to this country, because now getting into the country itself.
But he's
has
in
been
the
a
country
challenge.
already. What is the purpose of coming back? He's already in the country.
No, he thinks he has to go back, right? Because with this
Oh,
online
okay,
thing,
okay.
he has to leave the
Yeah,
country.
but if you go
Prashanti.
back, then there is no
Fear is
question of
about
being in
leaving
any
and not being
status.
able to come back.
Yeah, yeah. If you go back, then you're not in F1 status. You don't have to stagger. You can finish all your courses online.
My
It
goodness.
doesn't matter then. I think we've missed something that he was just trying to tell us, but yeah,
Got you.
I think, you know. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your question, my friend. All the best. Oh my God. So it's too confusing right now, because the people do not want to leave the country. And if it is a matter of 3 months or 4 months, they really don't want to leave the country. So
they should
they are
apply
not
for permission from the university if that situation occurs, or they have to file for a transfer to a different university which is offering, you know, the hybrid version of some online,
Just
some
minimum,
offline.
on-site
Yeah.
courses,
That's all
right?
that's the two things that they can do.
But you're never sure which university comes up with the online thing, because that particular state might have higher number of COVID cases.
Yeah, they
again.
might change, right? They might start off by saying in person, and then if the COVID situation becomes bad, who's going to do it? That's criminal.
Well, you look at Florida right
first
now.
of all, you can't do it
California.
because if the government says you can't do it, you can't do it.
As simple as
Right?
That's where it is.
The government has put a lockdown in effect. So you cannot, even if they want to do it, they cannot do it. So I don't understand how they're supposed to follow the immigration guidelines when the immigration guidelines are such that they're making them break the law. I really don't understand.
Today's show.
So they don't. Basically, what happens is they don't care about it. They want the students to leave. They don't want the universities to break the law, but they want the students to leave. That's what they want.
Okay. I mean,
That's the net reason behind this. They want everyone to leave, all immigrants to leave.
Prashanti, you are actually in agitated mood today. I understand. I see a humanitarian aspect. I see a human, like the expression there, sentiments, emotions coming out in an attorney right now. Agreed. I respect that. Thank you so much for that, So, well, today, I think in a nutshell, it's all about wait and watch for the next steps. But of course, go for the hybrid version of the courses. Try to see if you have some minimal courses which are available on site in the classroom, so that you save your F1 status and get to stay back in the country. Because of course, it is very tough when you leave this country to get back in. And if in case you're looking for an F1 visa stamping or a visa stamping at the consulate, it becomes next to impossible to come back for another some time. We really don't know when the consulates will be functional fully, or I don't know when this COVID situation equally eases. So we wish you all the very best for next steps. Keep an eye, hang in there, hang in tight. But yes, the takeaways from today's show from our esteemed guest, Prashanti Reddy, as she speaks about rights, the right to pursue what is not correct in the world that can be contested legally. Litigation may happen, and they have already started, accumulating cases. Cases have come down from India as well. People who got stuck in India, who are on H4, who are on H1 visa, who have entire work and houses bought here, everything is here, and all of a sudden they're stranded, losing their jobs and all. So a lot of cases are getting accumulated. If in case you are interested to litigate, I personally would, on behalf of Mana TV, would invite you to connect with us, bring in your cases to us personally, so that we can align you with the right attorneys. And if it is a mass action that you speak about, not class action I'm saying, but if in en masse there are people who are aspiring to go to the litigation front, yes, Mana TV platform will take your inputs and will pass on to the correct attorneys. And Prashanti, before you leave, I would want you to please share your the contact information so that people can reach out to you and get some suggestions and consultations from you.
So my best way to reach me is via email. My email is Prashanti, PRASHANTHI @readyesq.com. Or you can also go to my website, www.readyesq.com.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Prashanti, for your today's time, and always on the shortest notice. You are always available, and I really appreciate it. You have a heart of gold, where you think about people and you just immediately, connect with. When I request you, you're always available. I appreciate this, and Mana TV appreciates your efforts there, as well. We wish you all the very best, and we wish that you win many cases for this rightful, cause where immigrants are doing something good and they need some support from attorneys like you. And to all my viewers, all the very best. Hang in there. Situation is tight and tough. Situation is to take some action. In this largest democracy of the world, where you're sitting, you have the right to contest and present your case. That's where attorneys will come in picture to present your case. Be it the cases of people who have got stranded in India with the current presidential proclamation. Yes, there are attorneys taking requests from people and presenting their case. Be it a case where, of course, this international students facing this situation, I'm pretty sure people will come back with situations and help. They will seek help from the attorneys. Third is the people who are in the green card backlog. And the situation where we speak about recertifications of EB2s and EB3s or whatever, yes, time is to take action. How long will you stay in an unjust situation when you have waited for years and invested your youth, your excellence, your skills and expertise and your money and taxes here? Time is here for you to speak out, and then there is a legal route always available for you. We at Voice of Legal Immigrants at Mana TV Studios are in support of this legal immigrant community, and we wish you all the very best. We will come back, we'll keep you informed with other things, other developments that will happen as on. Till then, stay safe, stay tight, and be the best as you have been. God bless. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Suhag Jewelers, timeless jewelry for generations. Suhag Jewelers, timeless jewelry for generations.